Sven.
Thanks so much, guys. Of course, I am sitting down with the victorious Sven from G2. Now, let's ride the wave here after a pretty fantastic game two. You guys snowballed incredibly well, but how did you get that ball rolling in the early game for your team?
So first off, we got the first blood in bot lane. Even though we had like bad jumps for it, we knew that Freeze and Mando usually likes to go in this brush and invade the tri-bush to chunk the enemy AD or get a kill or something. So we got our first blood first off and 2 kills on Sivir. So that was the first thing that happened, and then I had no flash level 1, so we went top lane to lane swap, and then they came there and they wanted to gank us with Olaf, and it kind of backfired super hard. One guy died, I think, afterwards, and then I think Olaf died at the end, like behind the tower or something. And meanwhile that happened, they lost, I think 3 waves in the tower or something, and I based my tier on perfect gold, so I had a tier and a longsword, and then we went bot lane, and another disaster happened there, where they tried to gank us, and Trick was there in the right place again, and it just like snowballed that there was like 1 fight level 1, 1 fight level 3, and 1 fight level 4 that all resulted in a kill for us. And I think we got 2 kills, 3 kills maybe, and in bot lane at some point. And every time there was a fight, they lost 3 waves, 4 waves in the towers. So it just adds up, levels. And
yeah. Definitely a very dominant performance after that early game. You guys completely crushing it out, great score lines across the board. But I want to look back at game 1 briefly, because that was really rough for you guys. And really, what went wrong for you in game 1?
I mean, I think we were playing some fine on League of Legends in the first game. In the first 20 minutes, we had 2 Infernal Drakes, we had a small goal lead, and we were like scaling up slowly, and we were having the pressure in the game. And then there was this one Mountain Drake fight, the third Drake, where we wanted to just leave it, the Drake, because the Kaelin traps was in a good spot for them. So we wanted to just give up the Drake, go mid, hit tower, and then run top lane towards the second tower. But we ended up getting caught by Bard, who did a good R and then Q combo, and then they just got 2 kills, took Nash, got 2 more towers in the towers, and we kind of were too far behind at this point to win. So I wouldn't say it was one play that lost that first game, but it kind of was one play that lost the first game for us. That we just made one mistake, lost 2 kills, Nasher 2 towers, and it kind of just
Yeah, snowballs pretty quickly.
Yeah, it goes out of hand
ways.
really fast in this meta, so it was
It's a pretty intense game 1, of course. Good that you guys were able to bring it back in game 2, but I want to focus in on your top lane just a little bit as my final question here. Expect versus Kikis. How has that been different for the team, and what do you expect from this guy in the future?
That's funny, because I think Expect has improved a lot last few weeks. He plays all the scrims now since Kikis is left, but I think that Kikis actually improved a lot to be like Dehan, Expect, in the way that they both like Aurelia, Fizz, the carry kind of jumps. But I think Dehan just needs to improve his English and his like team play, because he's good at playing the 1v1 lane or for himself, but he wasn't sure when to TP to his lane, when to do TP for bot lane or mid, or when to go where because of Drake or Nasher or playing for tower and like lane swapping and so on. So I think with Joey, or Coach Youngblock, he's learning English really fast and learning all the terms, like pushing on second wave or collapse means sandwich and all that kind of stuff. So Joey helps him learn stuff from scrims, and I think it's going upwards only. Obviously Kikis right now is probably better because of his, I think Kikis has really good team play, like good low EQ play style. He communicates a lot with the top laner when he's ahead, when he's behind, so it's super good. But I think Expect can be as good or better if his English and communication and team play improves. Yeah. So I think there's only uphill for us from here.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see how that develops. But congratulations again on your win. Very dominant game 2 to tie it out over H2K. But that's going to do it for us over here. And we're going to toss things over to a quick break before moving ahead. Or analyst desk. Ooh.
Trolled. No, we're actually just going to break that down a little bit more. Sifa, thank you very much for those words with Sven. I always love watching interviews with Sven because he's very, very technical and at the same time quite funny about things as well.
I've just got images. I really want to see Youngbuck trying to teach like game terms now to Expect. I want that as like a micro series. That'd be great. That would make my day.
Indeed it would, but G2, well, bringing it back in game 2 after that very strong victory from H2K in game 1, and a lot came down to those couple of fights, and especially Mythy, the enabler, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you could say the same about game 2 that Sven was trying not to say about game 1, where it all came down to a few plays. But honestly, the first 3 minutes dictated this entire game. We took a look at some of the early game plays that really turned this game on its head. The first blood aside from that, there were two subsequent fights that Sven touched on that we wanted to take a look at. So this was actually the first blood.
Yep.
So this obviously had a turning point on the game because it put Freeze in a position where they couldn't escape the fight that follows up. So for G2, as they said, it kind of was good scouting, knowing that Freeze was going to do that kind of play in the bottom lane. And then this was the second one in the bottom lane. So already G2 have the advantage here. Mithy has done his 1v1 against the Olaf, which, you know, the Olaf not great for making plays early, whereas Trick comes in, gets the flash knockup. By the way, I went and checked this. 3 health Trick dropped to in that situation before he burrowed for the healing to proc, and unfortunately therefore H2K, that's the kind of situation where, as the casters were saying, Tefisio was saying, you know, in a scrim, that's you, GG, go next, let's set up again, let's not waste time. Unfortunately, so difficult to come back from that setting. There was maybe the outside chance that Odo Amne was getting farmed, but then the pressure turned and G2 were like, no, you don't get to farm in this game.
Sadly, he couldn't get rolling, but what do you make of the Rumble pick in the current meta?
So I like it in theory, in the sense of it's a team fighting pick that has good control over the Dragon area, good control over any entrances to team fights. So it has the same kind of effect that a lot of other picks we're seeing have. The problem is, when you look at the Aurelias coming through, the Fizzes, I think it's an okay laning matchup, but then the Aurelia, the Fizz, the later the game goes, if they get ahead, they can just crush through, because Rumble, you're never going to get to team fights. And that's what happened for H2K in this situation, is they never got to team fight with their composition effectively because they were so far behind. I mean, to put it in perspective, that was the largest deficit at 20 minutes that we've seen in the summer split. Just under 10,000 gold, 9,700. So a crushing defeat here in Europe for H2K. Good win for G2 to tie the series.
Crushing defeat. Mithy, we just saw it as also player of the game in this one, of course, setting up a lot. And I think it's kind of a fitting ending to this match of the week. The two best teams in Europe right now, as we can see there, Mithy, player of the game, and Vander doing really well in game one. They do definitely seem to be on the same level, and you got your prediction to come true, so yay for that.
Yes, that's what counts in this scenario. Looking at player of the game in the second game was actually fairly difficult because I kind of, my vote went towards Mithy because of the early game plays. The rest of it probably wouldn't have quite been there without it. There were just so many players you could have given this to. Trick was 7-0 and 20 out of 28 kills, 27 kill participation, like crazy stats. Just good to see that at least G2 can come back and bounce back in a series after taking a defeat, and not only bounce back but crush that early game. Perhaps it wouldn't happen the same way every time, but at least they showed a little bit of resolve there.
Yep, very good to see from G2 and H2K in this one. And all day long, you've been showing us how you LCS. So let's take a look at some of your setups. From @SlotHipster tweeted, I EU LCS in class this summer. Don't worry, still paying attention. Well, I don't know if we're supposed to condone this, but it's cool that you're watching us, of course, staying cool in school, kids.
I hope you are still paying attention. I know it always is difficult. You always want to keep an eye on both streams, but keep an eye on the studying as well.
Keep an eye on studying, on football,
I know,
the stream.
right?
Everything at the same time. Another tweet from @JustShan was sneaking a peek at Fnatic versus Schalke 04 earlier today. See it as well, doing a bit of work, and then also sneak peeked a little bit.
Is this LCS for ants?
No, you know, it can't be conspicuous, you know? Nobody can see that you're watching, but very, very cool. Keep sending us all of those How I EU LCSs because we love to see your pictures. Now, with the score settled here in the LCS studio, we are going to send it over to stream EU LCS 1, where Splice and Giants are currently on the Rift in game 1 of our final match of the evening.